Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biomimicry Institute's Big Top Tent session for today. I'm Megan Shuknicht. I'm the Director of Design Challenges at the Biomimicry Institute, and I'm really excited to have a panel discussion today with three of the finalists from our Biomimicry Global Design Challenge. The Biomimicry Global Design Challenge is an annual team competition, and it's hosted by the Biomimicry Institute in partnership with the Ray C. Anderson Foundation. And the goal for the challenge is really to focus on solving or addressing critical sustainability challenges using nature as a guide. It's open to teams of professionals and students anywhere in the world from any country. And it features both a design concept phase and then an accelerator phase. And so today it's my pleasure to introduce to you three representatives from our 8 finalist teams from the 2015 challenge. And the 2015 challenge focused on addressing problems in our food system. So large or small, each team got to define the scope of their own challenge within the food system, and they're going to be sharing some details of those innovations with you today. We have 8 teams that are part of our first accelerator program, including the 3 represented here, and they will have the next 11 months to continue refining their designs, prototyping, working on their business models, and then they'll be competing for the first ever $100,000 Ray of Hope Prize, which will be awarded by the Ray C. Anderson Foundation next October at the Bioneers Conference in California, USA. All right, well, let's get started with introductions. So our first panelist today is Alessandro Bianciardi. His team is based in Italy, and their innovation is called the Mangrove Still. And basically it's a modular solar still that's designed to be used in coastal areas to rebuild degraded soils. And we also have, next we have Camilla Hernandez from Valparaiso in Chile. And her team is with the Fruit and Vegetable Innovation Center for Regional Development there. And they've come up with a solution called BioNurse, which mimics nurse plants found in various ecosystems to rebuild and address degraded soils, and they'll be telling you more about these innovations. And then we have Felipe Hernandez. His team is very international. They represent multiple countries, but Felipe is joining us today from outside Munich, Germany. And his innovation is a modular indoor growing system for people to produce their own vegetables. We do have videos, short videos of each of the 3 innovations created by these teams on the DIF website. We hope you've had a chance to view them, but if not, I'm going to ask each of the team members just to give a brief introduction to their technology. And finally, I'd like to remind you to join the conversation. We'd really like to have a lot of questions from the audience today. And you can do that by using the conversation box below the video that's being broadcast on the DIF website. You can also join the conversation by clicking the Join the Conversation button within the YouTube video, and then using your Google Plus account. And I think I dropped my Twitter hashtag, but you can also join the conversation on Twitter using Biomimicry Innov. So please send plenty of questions our way. And Alessandro, I'm going to start with you. Could you please tell us a little bit more about just what your innovation is and what the biological inspiration was behind it? And sorry, Alessandro, you do have to take yourself off mute. Erin, is it possible for you to unmute Alessandro? Alessandro, I'm not sure why, if there's an issue with your microphone, but if you could Okay, so Felipe, Alessandro, we can't hear you, so I think you have to figure out whatever is going on with your mute button. But let's move to Felipe and have him tell us a little bit more about his team's concept.
Hi, Megan. Thank you for your introduction. Well, our project is called Hexagro. This project focuses on urban production of healthy food as an alternative to current traditional farming methods, which is the responsible of a great part of the CO2 emissions. We used strategies found in nature to create a new system that optimizes rather than maximizes. So we looked for a strategy used by the honeycomb bee for efficiency and space reduction. So the honeycomb is a loose tissue of wax forming in a plain layer, and they are based in hexagonal patterns. We made an analysis of their strategies and their functions, and as a result, we made a modular system that can be installed in urban locations. This product is aligned with the community of farmers, urban farmers, that would trade their products ultimately or sell it in their location, so that we can decentralize the access to healthy food. The project was developed with engineers in the field of agriculture. I am an industrial designer, and I am in charge of the development of the product for its industrial production. And our objective is to transcend a consumer product and generate social opportunities for the users to be in every locality.
Thanks, Felipe. And Camilla, let's see, can you unmute yourself and tell us a little bit more about your team's innovation? Great.
Okay. Hello. We are from an innovation center in Chile called Ceres, and we have made the Biomimery because we saw a big problem in the agriculture, in the currently agriculture. We have worked with a lot of farmers and agronomist people, and in the present, the soil is considered like an inert material, where how can you put the soil out if the food that we eat is like a main chain of this all change of things. So we want to restore the soils with life, biologically doing. We have studied some groups of different seeds, what is their principal things that they can do. There are some that they can restore the soil only with their biological thing that they have from years more than us. So we saw the vegetal communities where you can find not only one seed, you can find a lot that have different parts of the system. And if you go to harsh environments, you can see that these vegetal communities form like a cushion that we call the cushion plants. And under the cushion plants, you could find a nurse effect. We saw a specific cushion plant that's called Yareta, that is in our Andes mountain, and we saw the opportunity to give the optimal place for our restoration kit that we have found like in the way of the center says that is a study from like 5 years ago. We have to give the better place to the helpers of the soil. We have found one problem specific with the currently the monoculture. They lost their trees when they have a lot of same trees. They put it again and again, and the trees are getting faster than the past. So with this potential place, we could help to restore the soil. Biological, only with diversity
Okay,
and
Camilla.
complexity that have been in the nature from very, very years after.
Okay, Camilla, you're breaking up a little bit, so I think you have to try to hold still in front of your microphone. You were breaking up a little bit there at the end. Okay, so thank you, Camilla. I'm gonna return and ask you a couple more questions in just a bit, but I think we have Alessandro back now. So
can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Yes.
So please tell us a little bit about your design concept.
Yes. So basically, what we develop is a solar steel. So that is one of the cheapest technology for desalinating water, which is based on evaporation and condensation process. And what we did, basically, we reviewed the existing designs of the different solar steel against some natural strategies in order to somehow to optimize it. More than doing this, more than developing a design for a new solar steel, we also try to understand how to better apply it in order to utilize it for soil regeneration. Our target, as you may know, is trying to reduce land degradation in arid coastal areas. So basically, as a main source, initial source for inspiration for reviewing this design, we look at coastal ecosystem, natural coastal ecosystem, such as mangroves and salt marshes. And from the way this coastal ecosystem develop and grow, we decided to review this particular technology and apply it in the same way it is applied in a coastal ecosystem like a mangrove on a salt marshes. The important things about this technology that we develop is that it can be put into a system. So it's not a single piece of technology, but it can be combined in a modular way, and then it can be spread around the land, or can be also concentrated in a single plot.
Thanks, Alessandro. And I'm going to please, send your questions in. This is an open panel discussion, and we'd love to have the team members, answer your specific questions, whether it's about their designs or participation in the Biomimicry Challenge or anything else. And you can, again, just a reminder that you can join the conversation using the Twitter hashtag BiomimicryInno, or you can just type in the comment box below the video on the DIF website, or use the Join the Conversation button within the video itself and ask questions through Google+. So one of the most important things to learn in doing biomimicry is how to identify function and then be able to translate biological strategies that meet specific functions into design strategies that perform those same functions. So function is a bridge between biology and how biology does things and design and how we can do things in design. So Alessandro, what would you say were the main functions that you were looking at as you tried to approach this problem? What got you to a solar still for trying to improve degraded soils?
So the process was particularly complex because, first of all, we look at the system level. So first of all, we wanted to understand, is it desalination the right answer to bring water for land regeneration in coastal areas? Because apparently it is the only answer nowadays, because when we have such type of problems of water scarcity in arid coastal area, we tend to think immediately about desalination. But we wanted to be sure, is it the right answer? And so we decided to look exactly at nature to understand what does it mean for nature to desalinate in arid coastal water. That's why we look at ecosystems like mangroves and salt marshes. And we understood, looking at this ecosystem, that in fact, desalination is not the only option that the coastal ecosystem have to get fresh water, but it is actually the starting point. Because ecosystems like the mangroves, for example, they have a pioneer species, like the mangrove trees itself, which is the first one that colonized a coast, an arid coastal areas. And then, thanks to its capacity to desalinate water, it slowly creates conditions for other species to come, which eventually will allow to have access to other freshwater resources available, such as humidity, rainwater, and occasional floods. So this was, let's say, the main lesson that we learned from nature at system level. And then we decided, okay, like ecosystems, they have a pioneer species, which kickstart the whole process of ecosystem development. So why not to find a pioneer technology species, which could do exactly the same? So a desalination technology, which would just kickstart the process of land regeneration, so allowing for other organisms slowly, so to give us a minimum amount of water to a land, and allow then other organisms slowly to come and do the job. And then we entered into the second part of our research. So with this idea of the pioneer technology, we identified the solar steel, which was the cheapest technology available for desalination, and then we review its design, looking at its functionalities. The main functionalities, the main process is evaporation and condensation. So we wanted to improve this process as much as possible. And then we look at functions like optimization of surface volume ratio, capillarity, and also countercurrent heat exchange, which are, let's say, strategies that occurs in nature in a broader sense in many organs. And so we focus specifically around these strategies and functions.
Great, thank you. So, Felipe, I'd also like to ask you to elaborate a little bit on the biological inspiration process. What were the functions that you were thinking about that you wanted to accomplish or address through your design? And then tell us a little bit more about the deeper biological patterns that you looked at.
All right, well, we were looking for three main functions, which is efficiency, adaptability, and space reduction. So if you take 2D space and you try to fill it with a geometry, the most efficient geometry with the lowest perimeter would be the hexagon. So we then looked which organism uses the hexagon to fulfill these functions. So you can find in the bee honeycomb cells that are made by wax, a loose tissue of wax that forms a plane layer, and they are formed by hexagonal patterns. This has a reason, and it's because they are trying to aim for economy. Resources are really limited locally, and the bees are trying to minimize the materials by having the maximum diversity possible. So if we would install our idea in an urban space, of course it would be very reduced. So how can we have the most efficiency in a really reduced space? Well, we looked to nature and we found that hexagonal patterns have actually a 3D equivalent, which would be the projection of the hexagon, resulting in a truncated octahedron. It looks something like this figure that you can see in the screen. It actually has 4 axes and it can be bifurcated. So we thought about creating a modular system that could adapt to any urban space. And we found that this that in these nests, and they can fill the space completely, allowing the the biggest production, the biggest efficiency in a given space. So the way we configured the modules was like a tree. So a tree is a closed system, and the tree has bifurcations that fill also a space. We mixed both of the concepts, and we created a modular system which can be in which you could grow the food. So we also got one of the existing technologies of groundless agriculture, which is called hydroponics. Actually, this technique is also based in nature, because in jungles, for example, you can find fog full with nutritious components, minerals, and there are some plants that absorb these nutrients from the air, and they grow without the use of land. So as in urban spaces we don't have the availability of land, we implemented the aeroponic technique in a modular system, resulting in a really efficient product that can grow until 342 plants, compared to traditional farming that can grow 40 plants in the same area. So for an urban installation, it's the most efficient strategy.
Yeah, that sounds like a big efficiency gain. You've mentioned urban areas a couple times, and the efficiency of space needed to grow things, and that might be appropriate for city living, right? So
Yeah.
is an urban audience your target audience? And then can you tell us a little bit more about what do you think the incentive is for people to grow their own food using the Hexagrow system, and also a little bit about the community aspects of your project, because I know you have a larger community goal as well.
Okay, the first question was, okay, which are our customers? So our customers don't have to necessarily live in urban areas, but it makes more sense as they don't have the possibility to grow food because of the lack of soil, right? So this system uses 90% less water than traditional farming, so you would need low resources, and well, they are people interested in health and good nutrition. The system doesn't need the use of pesticides. It doesn't need land, so the vegetables don't get sick by pests.
Okay, there's
a person that lives in a city, maybe you want to have the opportunity to grow food, and also people that sees urban farming as an opportunity to generate new income. Farming is also economical activity, and there is a trend of growth in the urban population. So currently 56% of the population is living in cities, and of course there is something lacking in these production areas.
Yeah. There's also a lot of, it's a good point with more people living in cities than ever before. We're also trucking in a lot more food or shipping in a lot more food from distant locations, and that's not really the way that nature provides food in its ecosystem. So I love that idea of local production and really localizing the food source, even if you are living in an urban area. There are a couple of questions coming in here from Twitter. So Camilla or Alessandro, I'll ask you to go first. But what was one of the most surprising things you discovered during the biomimicry process? Was there something that surprised you when you took a biomimetic approach to your challenge?
I have one story. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. One day we went to the mountain to see the cushion plants that live in the top of the mountains, and we are looking only these particular types of plants. And in one moment, we turned up our views and we saw that the principle were in all the wood. And the principle of cushion was representative, like in the side of the mountain and in the river and in the whole valley. So the principles were the same, and that was like very beautiful experience.
So could you just expand on that a little bit, Camilla? So when you went to observe these cushion plants up on the mountain, you noticed similar patterns or principles all around you, not just in the cushion plants, but what were some of those principles you observed?
We saw like in the vegetal communities always exists a different kind of plants that they are doing different works. It's a community. They are all helpers, and the principles of that community is more, you can see when you see something from the clothes, like in the seed, one seed rounded by different kind of things like grass, wind. So you can see in the specific nurse plants or cushion plants or yaretas, that is one of the specific plants, that they are like a nurse in the whole world of nurse, because it gives the optimal place when the nurse of the plants, you can see, because here in Chile we have 3 different words that is nurse. From us, we say nurse to the enfermera, who care people. The other one is invernadero, that is the place where you get life to the little plants. The third is like the nurse that we say nodriza, that is the person who cares the babies. Or like in the cushion plants, like the yareta does. So that principle of nurse effect, you can see in a natural place that we are lucky here in Chile, because we have very beautiful places, Mediterranean places, where you can see a lot of different actors in the same place, and they are all working together. So the principle of life is like in the minimum expression of the seed, and also in the river, in the valley, and that was awesome for me. Was like a big place.
Yeah, so you realize that those same principles applied at a variety of scales, from the smallest seed all the way up to the ecosystem level.
Yes.
Yeah. Alessandro, what about you? Was there something surprising that you discovered during the biomimicry process?
Yes, I think I rather I got hooked by the approach, not necessarily by some discovery, but actually how it is important to look at ecosystem level, because you start to realize, but we know that to solve problems related to sustainability, no, you cannot look, because they are complex problems. You cannot look at them only on one angle, but you have to see them in a complex system. So also in this case, to have a look at desalination, where we know already as a technology, quite solid technology, it would have most probably pushed us to, to review the technology of desalination, maybe just looking at how certain organisms desalinate. For example, there are a lot of scientists who are currently researching how mangroves and the Salicornia for salt marshes, this particular species, they desalinate water. So they are trying to emulate the process of desalination of this specific plant. But they don't look at at the meaning of desalination in the context of a broader ecosystem. So in the context of a broader system. So what it was striking to me, that if you just lift up yourself and you look at the problem from a systemic perspective, so from an ecosystem perspective, which is actually the basic also of circular economy in a way. If you look at the problem from this high, then you discover things that if you focus at a specific aspect, you don't see them. And in this case, to have a look at the ecosystem level, the meaning of desalinations, it allows us to understand that desalination, again, it's not the only option to bring water, fresh water in a coastal ecosystem, but it's just a tiny element of the whole system. And this allows us then to to have a look at a specific technology and to utilize it in order to emulate an ecosystem process and not a technological or a particular organism process. So for me, this was striking, and I will keep on using it always to have a look before entering into a technology, to have a look at the system where it is introduced and to see how nature considers this particular process within a broader ecosystem.
Okay. Is that understanding helping guide sort of your future development of this project? So understanding that the solar still is one component in the system, and that this pioneer technology, I don't know if you're having trouble hearing me, and that this pioneer technology is just a first step, right, in bringing fresh water. So in thinking about it from the ecosystem's perspective, how is that guiding who you're thinking about partnering with, or how you're thinking about are you already thinking about developing beyond piloting the solar still in a region, so that you're addressing a larger part of the system right from the beginning, or are you primarily focused on starting with just with the solar still as a pioneer technology and getting fresh water to arid coastal regions?
Well, the idea, in fact, is to, I mean, if you look at ecosystems, coastal ecosystem, you can understand, you can learn how to build communities, okay? Sustainable communities in coastal ecosystem, not only to bring fresh water, but also to set up an overall communities. So our ideas, in fact, is to start with this solar still, as a technology that could regenerate the land, but then to combine this solar still also with other technologies that could be integrated with it, and that will allow also to have access to other freshwater resources. For example, we know that they already exist cheap technologies like the fog catchers, okay, that can collect the humidity from the air. Or you can have a system for collecting rainwater. So here the main message is to put all this type of technology into a systemic perspective. Then, of course, because the challenge was about food, and for us it is about land, we decided to start with looking at trying to regenerate land, and then to have an initial amount of fresh water to kickstart the process. But the bigger, let's say, the bigger projects, in fact, it involved the overall system, the overall community.
Yeah, that's great, and it's a big goal, but a very laudable one. So to be thinking about it from the systems perspective at that level right off the bat. So thanks for sharing that with us. Felipe, there's another question that's come in that I want to pose to the group. Is there a particular surprise from your process that you want to share?
Yeah, well, gave us a lot of ideas. We started with the development of a product, but then we saw that we could apply it in a system. So nature rewards cooperation between organisms. And that's why we came with the idea of cooperation between our customers. So, for example, we could create a system locally that would be a network of urban farmers that could cooperate between each other to decentralize the production of food. So, nature runs on resources available locally, and this would be an amazing opportunity to solve issues as food deserts, for example, which don't enable people to have access to healthy food. Also, from the product point of view, product design point of view, we wouldn't have come with a solution for making the space so efficient if it wasn't for the inspiration in nature. Nature is the greatest designer, and it evolves, it adapts, and it's resilient. So our aim is also to have resilient system that runs in a closed loop. And well, nature is a great inspiration for designers, and also for develop an economical model, a business plan. So we are planning to cooperate with other companies that already function, and yeah, pretty much that's how we applied biomimicry.
Great, thank you. Another question that's come in, which I'm going to tweak slightly for any of you to answer. So the question is, what's in it for people who are thinking of taking part in the challenge? And I can answer that more explicitly, but I'd like to have each of you first just address, why did you decide to participate in the Biomimicry Global Design Challenge? And then what benefits have you seen from participating in the challenge?
If I can start?
Go ahead.
Yes. So from my perspective, for our team perspective, it was a good opportunity, first of all, to push our idea forward, because it gives us a kind of boost to set up, to go ahead with the project, to prepare it properly, and to think more about it. So it was a very interesting stimulation, okay, for the project. Obviously, it helped us also to work in a team, because at a certain point we have to define the team, a multidisciplinary team. So that was also very good. A team that will keep on work on this project later on. And participating and also being in the, obviously, in the final, it boosts our confidence. It increases our visibility also. And it increases also our knowledge, because I don't know if Megan, then you will say about it, but I mean, during the next process, let's say the prototyping, the acceleration phase, we have also the opportunity to learn about how to develop our business model. So you're providing mentorship and also the possibility to participate to courses at the University of Portland. And so, of course, this one is building up our knowledge.
So Camilla or Felipe, Camilla, do you want to address that question as well? Why did your team decide to participate in the challenge, and what did you gain from the experience?
Okay. Well, I'm an industrial designer, and I work with in an innovation and investigation center. So we have like two different views of one problem, or like no one, but like a lot of problems. So I get in first of all in the center doing like a design thing to make easier a methodology that they are working for soil restoration. And one day, Carlos, that is my like the boss of the line, came with this challenge and say that this could be like the thing that could join the design from one part to the scientific things. Mm-hmm. So I get to the main page of the biomimicry design, and we also found the Ask Nature, and that was like, oh, we have been looking at nature like for a lot of years, and I have been working like with bionic, but we need more from that. So we saw the methodology, the system methodology that you have developed, and we say that we have to do that, because this is something that we have been working. We have looked the nature, but we wanted to join that challenge. to have a real participation between the scientific view and the design view. So I think that maybe this is like something that the center and the people need. It's something like more for a well doing. It's something that we have to do it. If we don't do it now to see the nature and be part of it, we will get lost. I think that the human have have to be part of the nature system. We are not alone. It's the nature, and we are part of the nature. So we have to see and to learn the things that have been like for 3.8 billions of years, like the institute. So I think that I have a different. It's like a door that when you open, you can never close. So I'm very happy and for that. It's like a eternal gift.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great sentiments. Camilla, would you mind muting, please? Those are great sentiments. One more time.
Okay, I can mute?
Yes. Those are great sentiments you both shared, and we do require that the challenge is a team competition because we really do want to encourage interdisciplinary teams and reaching out and having designers work with biologists, with scientists, with business folks, and that's really what it takes, to have new technologies succeed. You do need to be working together and have, all the expertise of those different disciplines really contributing. Alessandro mentioned some of the resources that we offer through the challenge. If you're interested in joining the current challenge, it's also focused on the food system this year. So just as with last year, you can check out more details at challenge.biomimicry.org. There we go. And you can also check out details of all of last year's submissions on the gallery page there, so you can read more about Alessandro, Camilla, and Felipe's team designs, as well as see the videos that they created for their submissions. We're also in the midst of offering a series of support webinars, so those are going on right now, and you can get the schedule off the website or by following us on Facebook or Twitter. We try to put out reminders whenever we're offering any of those support sessions, and they cover everything from an introduction to biomimicry and various concepts and tools that we use, including nature's unifying patterns, some of those deeper patterns that some of the participants today referenced. As well as this year, we're going to be offering consulting sessions, essentially with a biologist, so biologist at the design table consulting sessions. So if you have a team that's formed and you're already part of the challenge, you'll be able to take advantage of those. And then, as Alessandro said, the finalists from the design concept round then also get these additional benefits of business training, mentorship, and support moving their ideas forward in the prototype round through the accelerator program. We're going to have to wrap up in just a minute here. So, Felipe, do you want to share any final thoughts about what what participating in the challenge has meant to you, or how biomimicry has helped you approach design differently?
Yeah, well, as an industrial designer, I could say that this was my first approach to biomimicry. It's incredible, all the solutions that you can find. It's solutions that are here since millions of years ago. Nowadays, we have a lot of problems in this world. We have to be looking towards sustainable solutions, and if there is something sustainable is nature. So I would encourage all the entrepreneurs that are hearing us, all the designers, to see as nature as a source of inspiration, as an ally, to improve our systems, our current paradigms. We have to care about our ecosystems. We have to be more aware about the human impact in this world. we have to think about society as a natural system, and we have to find solutions that are resilient, that are sustainable. And one way to do it is with biomimicry. So I would encourage everyone to go to the Biomimicry Institute website, and also the designers that need to find some solutions. You can look for Ask Nature. I think it's a great opportunity to start innovation and new ideas.
Thanks, Felipe. And Alessandro, any final comments?
Yes, to complement what Felipe has already said, definitely for me the key element was working in the team with people coming from different backgrounds. So to learn how the other people think, how the other people work, and this process allows us to ideas to emerge and creativity to be boosted up. So I think this is a key element. And doing biomimicry, I love it so much because and I use a weird word, but as a byproduct, you have that you get reconnected with nature, and I think by now we really need that. So that's why I like to do biomimicry, and I will keep on doing it.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that reconnect piece, Alessandro, because I think it's impossible to. I think if you develop a deep respect for the natural world, as you do through biomimicry, it's impossible not to respect your fellow human beings as well. And so, you know, as Camilla said, we are part of nature. That's something that we need to remember. But we do have this opportunity to create more well-adapted technologies than what we currently have, and those are lessons that nature can teach us. Camilla also mentioned asknature.org, so I'll just remind the audience that we have 2 more sessions in our big top tent here at the DIF, and the next one will be November 17th, and that's another panel discussion with 3 other finalists from the Biomimicry Global Design Challenge, and then we will be giving an introduction to our Ask Nature tool on November 19th. And Ask Nature, if you haven't heard of it, I hope you all have, but if you haven't, it's a library of biological solutions that are organized by function. So if you come up with functions that you want to solve for, it's a tool that helps you look for how biological organisms and ecosystems accomplish those same functions, and it can be a great starting point for inspiration. It's no substitute for going outside, however, so I was happy to hear some of the references to going outside and really observing nature deeply as part of your process too. I want to thank the 3 of you very much for joining us today, Alessandro and Camilla and Felipe, and we look forward to seeing everyone else at other DIF sessions as well as at our Big Top Tent sessions next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.